Hi, I'm Vashi Kapelos, and you're watching special coverage of Russia's war on Ukraine here on Power in Politics. I'm coming to you live tonight from Poland. Some breaking news to share with you right now. Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky is reacting to Russia's about-face. Less than a day after promising to move its military away from Ukraine's capital city, it did the exact opposite. Russia had promised to do so to bolster goodwill in negotiations taking place between Russia and Ukraine. President Zelensky says in a late-night video address that those peace talks between Russia and Ukraine are continuing, quote, but for the moment, there are just words, nothing concrete. President Zelensky also says Ukrainian troops are preparing for additional assaults on the eastern part of the country. I want to show you some video that underscores the fact that Russia essentially lied about what it was going to do. This is video that is disturbing. I do want to warn you as well, though. It's taken in Irpin, just outside of Kyiv. Of course, as I mentioned, Russia's military, the Deputy Defense Secretary, in fact, said that the military would move away from there and also move away from the already very battered city of Chernihiv in the north. As you can see, that didn't happen. All of that is happening, though, while Canada pledges to send more RCMP officers, investigators, to help in the International Criminal Court's investigation into Vladimir Putin's alleged war crimes. How exactly will that investigation work, and what will the RCMP be doing? Marco Mendicino is Canada's Public Safety Minister. Hi, Minister. Good to see you. Thanks for making the time. I wanted to start off with a question about the RCMP's participation in the ICC's probe into Russia's alleged war crimes. How many investigators are going in? And can you tell us a little bit about exactly what they're going to be doing?
Well, thanks for the question, Vashi. So we had an initial complement of about 3 RCMP investigators at the International Criminal Court. We're now more than tripling those resources, taking the team up to 10. They will be deployed specifically for the purposes of helping the ICC's investigation into Ukraine. They'll be doing things like interviewing witnesses, identifying persons of interest and suspects, and collecting tangible and digital evidence so that those who are perpetrating the atrocities in Ukraine are brought to justice. And this is in keeping with our tradition of contributing to defending human rights through our work at the ICC.
And my understanding is that those investigators will be deployed to The Hague, not directly to Ukraine. Can you explain why that is?
Well, the ICC is based in The Hague, and from there they will make decisions on the operational aspects of the investigation independently, having regard to the state of security that exists on the ground. But I will simply point out that it is incredibly important, as we see the brutal attacks being carried out and visited upon the Ukrainian people, that we preserve the record in real time, because these things which are occurring are previously unspeakable and now are speakable, are previously unthinkable and now thinkable. And we have to be sure that we are collecting the evidence so that we can put that before the appropriate tribunal at the ICC, so that those individuals who have perpetrated these crimes are brought to justice, and that is something we're committed to doing.
And as far as preserving the record, as you mentioned, within Canada even, again, my understanding is that the RCMP will almost conduct its own investigation by interviewing people who have fled Ukraine and sought refuge in Canada. Can you illuminate us a little bit more about what that will involve?
Well, this is the secondary part of the contribution, which is that right here on Canadian turf, you'll see that the RCMP have independently activated the Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes program, which means that they'll have the ability and the jurisdiction to, again, speak with those who bore witness to what is occurring in Ukraine, to potentially identify those who may have been trying to flee or abscond from the jurisdiction of the ICC, but equally to gather the evidence so that there is a record of what has occurred. And this is important because Mr. Putin seems to have operated on the false assumption that he can go in illegally, invade Ukraine, violate their state sovereignty, visit these brutal attacks without consequence in a sort of might makes right world. He's wrong about that. And what we hope is that this contribution to the ICC will instead ensure that right makes might.
Minister, is Mr. Putin, in your view, a war criminal?
Well, that is certainly something that will be up to the wisdom of the ICC and any other court that takes jurisdiction over this matter. But I will say to you, what's unequivocally true is that the attacks and the atrocities which are seeing houses obliterated, homes completely reduced to rubble, hospitals and maternity wards subject to rocket attacks, playgrounds completely left in ashes, is unspeakable. I mean, there's just simply no words that do justice to the images coming out of Mariupol right now, which is nothing more than a heaping ash pile. And it's wrong and it's unjust. And that's why Canada's doing everything that we can to ensure that if those who've committed those atrocities are brought to justice at the ICC.
Respectfully, Minister, the evidence that you just laid out, it has been enough for the President of the United States to say, and the Secretary of State in that country to say that Vladimir Putin is a war criminal. Why is it not enough for you to pronounce so?
Well, I would say with regards to Mr. Putin's actions that he's already, on the face of it, committed flagrant violations of international law by going into Ukraine. And even before this latest round, by going into Crimea and Odessa. And so he and his regime have already found themselves offside of important international principles. But it is equally important that if we want to defend human rights, if we want to defend our democracy, that we adhere to the principles and values that underscore that system, that way of government which we choose, which means, of course, respecting the administration of justice, respecting the Rome Statute, which we were the first country in the world to officially ratify, respecting due process, and of course, notwithstanding all of those atrocities, we will be sure that we will bring every person who has committed them to justice, and the announcement is a step in that direction.
So am I to infer from that, Minister, that you're waiting for the outcome of the ICC's investigation before you make any determination like that? And why is that something that you're adhering to, but the President of the United States doesn't have to?
Well, first and foremost, we're not waiting to take action to ensure that we are preserving the record. We're not waiting to take action when it comes to providing military aid to Ukraine so that they can defend their people and ensure that they preserve their state sovereignty. We're not waiting to impose economic sanctions, which are dealing devastating blows to the Russian economy, which are just now starting to manifest. We're not waiting to deploy the RCMP. All of these things taken together show our commitment to ensure that we're standing up for Ukraine and that we are standing up for the democratic values, which of course includes making sure that those individuals who've committed these atrocities on the ground are brought to justice. That's how we defend human rights, Vashi, in this country, and that's Canada's contribution, and it will continue to be this way going forward.
And Minister, I'm certainly not taking away from that contribution. You know, I'm here in Poland, and I have spoken to a number of people who laud it and who talk, frequently about what Canada has done and Canada's role in the war and how this has all played out. Its support for Ukraine. But I think that our viewers will sort of take pause for a second when they hear Joe Biden say, being asked, is Vladimir Putin a war criminal? And say, yeah, he is. And your government can't make that similar statement. I'm still confused as to what's different for him versus you.
Well, here's what I would say. It's certainly clear that there is a growing mountain of evidence that war crimes and crimes against humanity are taking place in Ukraine, but that as part of making sure that those who are brought to justice, including all of the individuals who are partaking in them, that we gather the evidence, that we put that evidence before the court, that there is adherence to the principles that ensure that there is an accounting and indeed a reckoning for those atrocities, are done in a way that are consistent with international norms, consistent with the Rome Statute, consistent with the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And the process by which we have commenced by deploying the RCMP is in service of those values, Vashi. And at a time when democracies are being attacked and undermined around the world, it's important that we adhere and show faith to those principles as a means of also standing up for Ukraine right now. And that is our unwavering commitment.
Okay, Minister, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Vashi.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.